So there were apparently some lawsuits that were made against the training center at one point. Can you give any information about that?
I know a bit about it. It was before UConn had those buildings, but particularly in the 70s and into the 80s, but several decades ago, there came a time when people were questioning whether that was really the appropriate way to treat people and to, to rehabilitate or teach them. And there was a question if there were a lot of people that were in there that really shouldn't have been in there. Some people definitely did have developmental delays, but there were other people that were put into these facilities really nationwide just because their family members maybe thought they were, high strung, or, other people who had control of them. Like if you were maybe a teenager or something and your parents just thought you were out of control, they might just put you in there. And there were a lot of times no ability on the behalf of the patient to say, I don't want to be here, you should let me out. And back, I don't know when this lawsuit was, but it was quite a while ago, there was a patient who had been placed in the facility, actually the Mansfield facility, by her parents, and she was 29, and she had repeatedly said throughout the decades, I don't belong here, I don't want to be here, why am I here? And they wouldn't let her out. And finally a lawyer took her case when she was already a senior citizen, she was already, white-haired, and they said she really never should have been in there. There should be some avenue for a challenging and involuntary, committal.
You mentioned something about that there were some arrests made for nurses that were treating people the wrong way. Do you know anything more about that, or was that?
I don't know an awful lot. I did do some Google searching in old newspaper archives, and I do know of at least one case that an aide was arrested and charged with assault. That, unfortunately, it sounds like it was not uncommon in these kind of facilities nationwide for, some aides who were not kind, who would just physically abuse the patients, maybe push them or do whatever they wanted to do to either shut them up or. From what I'm told and from what I've read, there's been a lot of abuse in a lot of these facilities nationwide over the years. And again, I do know, having read, that there was at least one arrest at Mansfield. There may have been others, I would not be surprised. It was unfortunately more common than anybody would have liked.
How did it go from what it used to be, like a running building, to the abandoned buildings that it is today?
There are a lot of buildings that are now under our control that we can't really do much with. They're historical, it's a historical area and it's been recognized as such, but the buildings themselves are so dilapidated and contaminated in some cases. So we're not in a position where we would be allowed to take them down, to demolish them, and even if you did, it would take a lot of environmental remediation. There's a lot of gunk in there. But we also are certainly not in a position to renovate them. I mean, renovating those buildings would just be outrageously expensive because, again, you'd be getting out all the contaminants and then trying to do all the renovations up to the historic standards and up to modern codes. So we're in kind of a strange situation right now with those buildings. Right now we're making the best use of the buildings that we can, and we're trying to keep the others secure so that no one is endangered and nobody goes into out of curiosity and maybe falls and breaks a leg or something.